actually unacceptable to my current investors. So what I would suggest instead, if that's okay with you, I'm happy to discuss the size of the option pool and so forth. But if we roll the option pool into the pre-money valuation, then I think it needs to be higher than 3 million. Or we can say, okay, the pre-money is 3 plus the option pool, and then you come on top. Yeah.
So let's stick to the financing and the tranched component for. Then we'll get to the option pool in a second. So, 750K now is what you're asking for.
Yeah.
And, we're proposing that we put that on the table. I believe in you. You've done a good job so far. And in order to reach that million, we think that you might need some more money to continue to grow the business before you can go out and raise a Series B.
Yeah.
So, our thinking is, give you that 750 now to get the ball rolling, and then when you hit some milestones, we inject another 750 to really keep the business moving.
Thanks. 2 questions. One is, if you think that the company needs more money to get where they need to go, I think the tranching is not a great idea. Because, A, they may need that money then, according to what you say, to get to this million. And if they don't get to the million and you don't put the money in, it's really going to hurt the company to get another round of financing from somebody else. So I think we should rethink this tranching thing and maybe split the difference, do 1 tranche and do $1 million instead of $1.5 million. Or
so basically,
I really think 1 tranche is better for the company for a lot of reasons.
So basically,
it's deciding whether or not the tranches have been hit. Who decides that? And these are somewhat objective, but then we have to get into definitions of all sorts of things here. And the first milestone is somewhat difficult to objectively really say, okay, we're there. So that's one point. But the other point is, I just think if you don't put the second tranche in, it's going to make this company look really bad. And if what you're saying is you think the company needs more money to get to the point that they think they want to get to, then just give them the money. That's what I would like to say.
So my point on that is, we proposed that the company has 250,000 users right now, and we're going to inject 750,000 to get them to that million threshold. At that point, we'd like to inject a further 750K to continue to grow the business. Frankly, the company's not going to be able to raise a Series B at 1 million users. They're going to need to have 2 million, 3 million, 4 million to go out and raise a Series B. So that's what we actually believe the second tranche is going to be used for.
And that's perfectly fine. There are 2 things to say. Number one, the tranching itself is obviously going to be problematic for a whole host of reasons, potentially. The second aspect of that is that for 33% of the company and the option pool in combination with that, I just can't do that. That is basically what I would suggest is, I understand that you want to inject more money in the company and that you want to take a more significant stake than the one that we were asking for, and I'm happy to enable you to do that. The way in which I would suggest is that you simply invest this in 1 tranche now at a valuation that is, or you get a larger percentage than the one that we originally proposed. I'll be happy to discuss that. So, for example, we said we invested the $1.5 million now for, argument's sake, 25% of the company, and then we accommodate the option pool in a meaningful way. And then we can discuss that.
Tell you what, I think it would be great if I could beat you on that. We'll do the full round, 1.5 million, one single bullet instead of 2. And I hear what you're saying about the angels and the dilution, etc. And hey, it's Wednesday. I'm feeling pretty nice. Let's I'll meet the dilution request. Why don't we just set the pre-money at 5 million instead of the proposed 3? Okay. So post financing, we would own about 25% of the business. How does that feel?
That feels pretty good for now. That's good.
Okay.
Okay. Now, a couple things. We're going to move to the next issue in a second. In terms of having tranche deals, I guess I would ask everyone to sort of take their hat off. I know that in the States, there's a lot of law firms that track deal terms and the like.
In 2011, about 21% of the deals were tranched. So while tranching is not common, it's also not uncommon. And I would like maybe Tina, you to address that and hear from everyone on that.
Sure.
Actually, the most common tranche deals are in life sciences because when you're tying to milestones, there's a real reason in life science deals. You know, you're reaching clinical trials or what have you, and you know after certain points this is not going to work. Whereas with internet companies especially, well, you know, if you've only reached 1 million users, does that mean the company's not going to work? Maybe not. It just may need some more time. It may need some different marketing shift. Whereas with you know, drugs, it's a bit easier to tell. So tranching is not as common in technology companies. That's what I've seen. And when they have been tranched, in most cases I've seen investors waive the tranches and put the money in anyway. So that's one of the reasons why I was arguing against it, because what it does is it gives the investor a little bit more leverage to direct the company a little bit more. That's what it does, because mostly they waive the tranche requirement unless the company's a real clinker, and it's going to die.
Yeah, so what I was going to say on the so a tranche deal, it's a great way for a VC to minimize their risk. So, you know, they've got 250,000 users. We inject 750K. It may flatline. They don't grow any. At that point, you know, we've only committed 750K. That's what we're probably going to lose. You know, instead of the full 1.5 million. 1.5 million. I think in the real world, you want, as an entrepreneur, you want as much cash in the bank as you can get. That dilution aside, if you can get money, take it and run. 1,001 things can go wrong. Internet bubbles explode and everything else. If you've got money in the bank, you're better off. But anyway, the tranching is definitely a way for a VC to have some controls and limit their exposure in case things do go wrong. Obviously, it happens.
That's right. So, I mean, my mantra is I always try to, I mean, in real life, I try to grab as much cash as I can. Right? Obviously, not diluting yourself by silly percentages, but you know, if I think I need 750 and somebody offers me 1.5, I'm definitely going to try and take it, for sure. I mean, I would be stupid not to. So this is why, obviously, I surrender more percentage of the company, but I have a much more secure path for the company going forward. And I need, you know, I think I need 750. I now have twice as much as I need.
And actually, what I agreed in the end, he managed to get twice as much money for the exact same dilution, because we basically doubled the pre-money valuation.
Pretty much, yeah. Well,
but that's okay. There are other tricks.
So,
coming.
I thought that's what you really wanted. I mean, isn't part of the game you put in the term sheet more than you need, and then you scale back, no?
Part of the game is low ball.
So, okay. But actually, 5 million pre for a company at this stage is actually this a very good valuation. So, so you know, my shareholders are going to get an up round, and they should be quite pleased with that, really.
Good work, yeah.
Well, but let's see what happens next.
Round first round to the entrepreneur. All right, next up, liquidation preference.
Okay. So before we go into this, maybe we should actually explain what these things mean, because otherwise it's not going to be easy to understand what we're talking about. Is that right? Does somebody show me that? So there are two types of liquidation. So liquidation preference means when the company gets liquidated, meaning it gets shut down or sold or it goes public or whatever. Basically what happens is the investors have a preference for the money. So just for argument's sake, so he will put 1.5 million in. If he has a liquidation preference of one time, then he gets his money out regardless of what the money is sold for. Okay, and then beyond that, he will get a cut of the company. Now there are two types of what percentage you can get of the company. There is something that's called a participating preferred, and then there is something that's called a non-participating preferred. In a participating preferred, what he'll do, for argument's sake, if the company is sold for 10 million, and he has got a 1x participating preferred liquidation preference, then Jason will take out 1.5 million, And we will then split the remaining 8.5 million pro rata, depending on the shareholding. Okay? In a non-participating preferred, what will happen is that regardless of how much the company is sold for, the minimum that Jason will get is 1.5 million. But if the company is sold more for whatever his equivalent pro rata, more than 5 million or something like that, or 6 million. If the company is sold for more than 6 million, then Jason will simply convert his preference shares into ordinary shares and participate pro rata all the way. Yeah. So that is the difference between a participating preferred and a non-participating preferred. Now, the best outcome I can achieve as an entrepreneur is obviously just to sell ordinary shares, where there is no liquidation preference. Now, with the VC, that's not going to happen, unless I have the hottest deal in the century, which I don't, with 250,000 users, of the decade. So the best outcome for me is a 1x non-participating liquidation preference, right, where he gets his money back. That is an entrepreneur-friendly term. Now, but I already know I've just achieved a great result on the valuation, so I'm not going to get that. Okay. What has been proposed here is a 2x participating preferred liquidation preference, which means if we sold the company for 2 million, Jason would take 3 million out, and then we'd split the remaining 7 million pro rata. Right. That is very entrepreneur unfriendly. So that I've never actually seen this in real life. It's quite. I mean, maybe it gets. I certainly never signed anything like this in real life. So that is a very investor friendly. Typically, if you have a 2x, you will not have a participating preferred. It will be a 2x non-participating. Okay. So what this means for me in terms of negotiating, I can't. Actually, this is really unfriendly towards me. I really try to get away from this. So what I'm trying to do now is I'm trying to either get to a 1x participating preferred or to a 2x non-participating. So I'm going to try and reduce that. Okay, go. Something like that. Just to explain. Right. Okay, so next up is actually dividends.
No. I think we still got to negotiate it.
Yeah, liquidation price.
Oh, okay, fine. I just thought we'd go through it.
So did you have any other questions?
No, it's fine. We do liquidation preference first. It's further down.
Or are you ready to sign?
No, that's fine.
Yes.
So the question that I would ask in this situation is probably like, Tina, do you think 2x participating preferred is sort of market standard? What do you
The damn ticket people again.
Jason believed. This is a very promising